minds. And there is no shortage of Chinese restaurants. And if you watch even some of our Africans working in Chinese restaurants, with all due respect, within a short time they begin to walk like Chinese and behave like Chinese, because the human resource culture in those institutions is trained at the University of Beijing. Because the standard is the mind is the standard of the person. What are we doing deliberately? You signal me when I have 10 minutes to go. I walked in here and I asked the people at the reception. I reminded them that I've come here, this is for the fourth time. There is no African restaurant that deals with African food. But there is an Indian restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, Japanese restaurant. These are not simple things, because they define who you are. And if you move out into the education, go into the education sector, those who are in human resource, in the education sector, STEM, it is now STEAM, was financed in this country by the Japanese, JICA. And when you wanted to be a science and math and technology teacher, you had to spend time in Kyoto or in Tokyo. Why? Because the human resource must be modeled in a manner that suits the circumstance. How many of you here have watched the film Roots by Alex Haley, with Liver Barton as the younger Kunta Kinte and John Amos as the adult Kunta Kinte? And I want you to take your mind to what they do to Kunta Kinte when he gets into the United States, to get Kunta Kinte out of him, that they may bring in Toby. That is what training does. To take out Kunta Kinte and to bring in Toby. Is our human resource geared in a manner that is going to benefit the continent of Africa? I met a lady here who is working with CGTN. CGTN is the Chinese medium via which it interacts with the world. They broadcast in French. They broadcast for Africa in English out of NAIROBI, Kenya. They broadcast in Arabic. They broadcast in Spanish. Why? The world was meeting again in Baku, Azerbaijan, and we are told cooking gas. Yes, good, cooking gas. But look at the timber that is being sold on Limuru Road. We are told that our cows are fatting rather dangerously to the world and to the carbon space. Fat they may, and they should. But the question is, in these spaces, how are we in these spaces? Because these are the real issues. You know, I was listening to my fellow Africans and those in the south in Baku, and they were debating and getting very agitated because they wanted $1 trillion United States dollars for carbon credits, and grudgingly the North agreed to $300 million for a period of 10 years, is it, or 5 years? And then I asked somebody, how will they enforce it, even if they are not given that money? How? How? With this Mickey Mouse armies? They cannot. Human resource is at the very heart of it. And I tell us all these things that we may know that our continent indeed does have potential. But how are we going to ensure that that potential is unleashed in a manner that will be beneficial to the continent of Africa in all sectors? I'm beginning to see a few beautiful things happening in Africa. Tanzania reached food sufficiency last week at 128% and is now exporting cashew nuts. Good. Which means that jobs can be created within the continent of Africa in the agriculture sector. Only yesterday, it was announced that Gaborone in Botswana is now going to become the second hub for cut diamond after Antwerp in Belgium. Good. We are going to create opportunities in that arena. Last year, Tanzania started ensuring that they are enriching their gold. They are now producing gold bars at international standards. Good. There is value addition. In the area of mobile telephony, we have started modestly. I know Kenya is assembling, Rwanda is assembling, South Africa is assembling, Nigeria is assembling. Good. We are going to have opportunities in that area. In Nigeria, which was exporting crude oil and importing refined oil, Dangote has now opened an oil company, and a few months after that, only yesterday, the president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, caused to be revived the refining port in Port Harcourt, and others are being reopened, which means that we are going to open opportunities. We are going to get fertilizer in that area. We are going to get all these, and we will require young men and women who are trained to be useful in that sector. But are we ready? This is the question. In the year 2008, the then chair of the Africa Commission, the president, the prime minister of the United Kingdom, and then chair of the European Union, Tony Blair, put together a number of African leaders and came with something called the Africa Commission. Have you read the document? I urge you to read it. And it is that document which actually forms the basis of the Blair Institute and is now running around advising every other African president. Ladies and gentlemen, even technology is supporting me, is to remind us, as I conclude, that this continent is a continent of opportunity. Those of you who are students of history will have heard of a famous Roman orator and thinker called Pliny the Elder. He said in the year AD 79, "Ex Africa semper a liquid novi." Out of Africa, always something new. Out of Africa, always something new. What is that new thing that must come out of Africa? Men and women who are capable of serving the continent in a manner that will liberate her from the chains of sorrow and want and from the cargo cult mentality. What is the cargo cult mentality? If you read Chinua Achebe's Trouble with Nigeria, he says that the cargo cult mentality is the belief by backward people that without any effort on their part, some ship filled with all the goodies that they have always dreamt about will dock in their port of hope and they'll be happy thereafter. We must stop that. And we can stop it if our young men and women are properly trained. And I want to conclude with these words, which you'll find immortalized in my own paper. They are the words spoken by Ghana's Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah in 1963 when he was talking to young people. 2 years earlier, he had been present at the University of Kumasi when he was inaugurating the University of Science and Technology, and he told the young men and women this: Africa can only thrive if our young men and women are equipped with the knowledge and the attitude that will convert our resources, natural resources, using our human resources in a